Hello, friends. How are we doing today? I hope we're doing good, because I actually found this little story here, and this seems like a good kind of question. And I like having these kind of open-ended questions, kind of turn things into a little bit of a podcasty thing. So let's get into this one. This is kind of a thing. From Reddit user Destroya. How do I help my nice guy slash incel slash depressed friend? Oh boy. I have a question that requires the most delicate handling. I have a friend, and it's not me, a friend I met in an amino group. I don't really know what that is. Like the acid? He's pretty cool, but dark cloud seems to follow him. He complains about being a virgin and how he's never kissed a girl before, blah blah incel shit. He keeps asking for advice and ignoring me, instead choosing to stay miserable. He goes to college and calls all the women there shallow, money-hungry whores. And I simply tell him, look, if they're all money-hungry whores, then just ignore them. Yeah, but they bully me all the time and they only date rich guys. You're in college and you still get bullied? This is really odd to me because where I come from, if anyone bullied you, you have the right to beat the living shit out of them. I feel like he tells me half a story so he can look more like a victim. For instance, he had a crush that he liked, and she got a boyfriend, and I get this exchange. Well, my crush sent me a video of her and her boyfriend taking her virginity. What? Why? I don't know, I feel like ending it. I'm genuinely curious if this ever happened. Thanks to the toxic legbeard friend, I'm very doubtful when shit like this happens. But there has to be more to this story than just a girl sending a sex video to her male friend. Could it have been by accident? And even then, I'm still pressing X to doubt. He has this kind of suicidal streak from what he's told me. He doesn't really have friends. He wants a girlfriend. His family bullied him. I want to help him, but he never listens to me to a point that whenever he complains, I just kind of don't reply. I've had issues with that myself, and I want to help him, but can I help someone who doesn't want help? I never give him impossible advice. I give him basic pointers. Well, for example, you shouldn't prioritize getting a girlfriend. Focus on your own happiness first. Get your mind off of stuff you know, and go to the gym and maybe like a video game, something to focus on yourself before anyone else. And his usual response to this is, well, I tried that and it doesn't work. I'm to a point where when he complains, I just kind of can't listen to it anymore. Also, he thinks I'm a girl because my OC is female. I haven't told him yet, and I'm afraid to do it. It might just push him over the edge, and he might actually hurt himself. I've had to talk him out of this kind of stuff twice. What do I do? Ooh, that is a heavy one. So, let's start with what we know. Let's start with the biggest thing, the big elephant in the room here, the self-harm situation. This is going to get a little personal, so sorry in advance if you're, not okay with this kind of stuff. I totally understand. When I was much younger, like in my early to mid-20s, I had a problem with that too. I developed depression after some really horrific experiences when I was like a kid. And my teenage years only made it worse. And I have had those kinds of thoughts, and I have had actions. I don't want to go into details. It's not good. But the point of bringing that up is, like, a lot of this stuff, you don't really... Okay, it's cliche to say this, but a lot of people will say, like, if you're actually planning on doing something like that, you don't tell people, because then they would stop you. The entire point of telling someone is because you want them to react. And I don't know how it is for everybody, because I can't speak for everybody, but that's how it was for me. People didn't know that I had attempted any of these things until years later when I just basically told them. I mean, it's not really a thing that you just, say without expecting a response. You don't really drop that kind of knowledge without expecting someone to be like, hey, are you okay? Do you need something? Do you want to talk? Anything? So there's that. There's that notion, and I could be off on that, but part of me doesn't think I am. You know what I mean? Now, as for the other stuff, the advice that you're giving is actually really spot on. Again, I can only reach into my own past for a lot of this experience because I don't, I can't speak for anybody else. But looking back on the stuff that I went through, was not great when it came to relationships. I tended to get into relationships too fast with people who were highly toxic because I had incredibly low self-esteem, and, depression tends to do that to you. And I would latch on to anybody who said that they cared about me. And this led to a bunch of relationships with people who obviously didn't. They cared about what they could get. They cared about how I would do for them, but they never really cared about me. And that may sound kind of selfish, but that is kind of a thing in a relationship. You have to have this whole two-way street. So, being completely unhealthy myself, I didn't really, realize that this was as bad as it actually was. So, I started really kind of, reorganizing myself after the end of my last previous relationship, I guess is the better way to put that. And I spent a lot of time kind of just dealing with myself, dealing with my own issues, and not actively searching for someone, but kind of just meeting people and learning how to just kind of go with things. Being able to be flexible helps a lot. Being incredibly comfortable on your, in your own skin is even more important. It, again, sounds really cliche, but you have to love yourself before you can love somebody else. Because if you don't love yourself, you're just looking for someone to fix you. And that's not really what a relationship is. A relationship is not looking for someone who can fix you. Looking for someone who can fix you is called looking for a therapist. Or like a psychologist or something like that. That's not a relationship, though. I mean, in the technical sense it is, but you know what I mean. The point is that people tend to think that if they just get into relationships, suddenly all of their problems will just be solved. And this is a fallacy. This is totally wrong. Just because you're dating someone does not mean that your life automatically improves. That is not how that works. Believe me, I've tried. So it's totally not true. If you do need to talk to someone professionally, then I recommend you do that. I recommend that for this guy too. He does seem like he has a lot of self-esteem and self-worth issues that he's just not working out. That he knows they're there. On some level, he's aware of them. But he's not really, doing anything to express that, to go into that and to fix that. And that's just not a healthy way to be. To ignore your issues doesn't make them better. You kind of have to figure out a way around, what's going on in order to make it better. Another example, because I'm full of those, is I am not, the healthiest motherfucker on the planet. That's pretty obvious. But I already know my tastes and things. I know that there's certain foods and certain things that I'm just not going to be able to cut out. Like, I can't just stop doing the things that I enjoy doing. Not like it's a compulsion, but it's a thing that I know I like, and I know that eventually I'm going to do it. Even if I actively resist it, it's going to happen. You know, I shouldn't eat the fucking brownie or whatever, the chocolate fudge brownie or whatever. But, like, I know that I'm gonna because I like it, and chocolate is good. So, if I know that's going to happen, well, what do? Well, I adjust other things in my life to make that better. I work out some, or I work out more, or, you know, I do something different to counterbalance that. See, again, you guys already know, I do have depression. I'm always going to have it. I haven't had any problems with it in quite a while, you know, knock on wood, but there is a possibility that I can have flare-ups and problems with it from time to time. And I'm aware of that. You know, you don't live this long with it and not be aware of it. But I also know that I have to be capable of counteracting that and working around it. I know that I'm not going to be the best all the time. I'm not going to handle it all the time. But if you're prepared to fall down, you know how to catch yourself. This guy sounds like he's in a position where he doesn't want to change. He doesn't want things to be different per se. And a lot of that does come with, you know, just the nature of depression. A lot of that comes with you're afraid that if you get rid of it, you're not going to be yourself anymore. And that's true. I got rid of most of my depression. I got most of it pushed out of me, and a lot of that is gone. And I'm not that person anymore. I'm better. You won't be that person. You'll be better than that person. You'll be the person that person aspires to be. I mean, I still have issues. I still have, you know, I honestly still have moments where I get slight panics whenever somebody says something that I think might be interpreted as negative, or someone insults me or something, because I'm so used to being, you know, just taken down like that. But I'm getting over that. I'm getting better at that because I'm working at it. Refusing to work at the problem doesn't mean it's going to go away. It just means it's going to fester. So, my advice to this guy is to actually take up, honestly, what you said. Take up the advice you, OP, said, that he needs to talk to somebody. He needs to actually talk to a professional. A lot of people, and I know this is a thing with a lot of people, are worried about talking to professionals or worried about getting professional help. Don't. If you need to, do that. It's totally fine. And if anyone judges you on that, well, they're an asshole. It's not about them. It's about you. It's about your mental health. Your mental health is just as important as your physical health. You kind of have to work with that kind of stuff. You have to work at it and, you know, take care of yourself. These things are really important. Now, the last bit about the being bullied and all this other stuff, I don't really know if I believe that part. It could be that there are some people who are messing with him. It could be. I will give you that. But a lot of some of his other examples that you gave that they don't sound real. Like, I've been to several college campuses. I had a lot of friends who went to a bunch of different schools, and I would go see them. Hell, I even went with Sango to a bunch of her classes when I was in Florida. I have literally never seen that. A lot of times when you get to that age, when you're in college, that's not really a thing. A lot of people are just worried about getting their work done and then going on to do whatever else they want to do. Because at that point, school is not a thing that you're forced to go to. School is not a thing that it's like an obligation, you know? Like, oh, I have to be here because it's like there's no skipping this. I can't. No matter how much I want to, it's like an imprisonment. You have to. But college is a voluntary thing. You chose to, sign up for degrees or pay the tuition or whatever to be there. You don't have to. No one's twisting your arm saying you have to. But, I mean, you can take that in a bunch of different ways. But you know what I mean. It's not a mandatory experience for every single person on the planet. And most of the people who are going there at that stage in their life treat it as though they're going to work. All interpersonal connections are being done in a pretty professional fashion because, I mean, it's kind of like being at a job. I'm here to learn the things that I need to go on to another thing. Pretty simple stuff, honestly. But this idea that there are people who are specifically there just to, like, date rich guys and pick on him, the first part I can believe. The first part I can believe that there are, in fact, people who only look for money when it comes to relationship, connections. That doesn't make them good people. But, whatever. That's not really the point of this whole thing. I can get into that another day. The fact that they would intentionally single him out and mess with him, that kind of sounds made up, because there's this other thing in pretty much every college campus. It's basically HR. Student resources would be like, you can't fucking do that, man. We have rules against that kind of thing. And if you fuck with a student, we can very easily throw you out. Because getting expelled from school when you're in, like, grade school or junior high or high school or whatever, you're eventually going to come back. They know that. So discipline has to be handled in a way that they can actually deal with it. But with a college, they can be like, well, we'll throw you out, and we don't give a fuck if you never finish your degree. That's not our fucking problem. That's your fucking problem, and you're just going to have to deal with it. So I don't really believe that part. It could be, but there's a big could with that. Now, the second point of this. My crush sent me a video of her boyfriend taking her virginity. Yeah, I don't believe that. I'm sorry, I don't. I really don't. I seriously have trouble believing that anyone would want their first time videotaped, let alone sent to someone who either they don't know because they just have a crush on them, or they do know and think of them as like a friend. I have a lot of friends who are either qualifying to be, and this is a very vague thing, to be attracted to me in some way. And I mean that by saying, like, they're either openly gay or bisexual, or they're into, guys like me, or they're women who are into guys like me. But that literally never happens. I have several friends who I don't doubt are, being adults, are sexually active. I don't know a fucking thing about their sex lives, because it's not my fucking business. As well as I think everybody here pretty much understands. So this story about his crush, this girl who totally he super likes, has like just sent him a video of her boyfriend. First off, she has a boyfriend, but you have a crush on her anyway. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And it being their first time, I don't know, man. That sounds kind of made up to me. That sounds a lot of made up to me, to be honest. So, I don't believe that story. Now, I do actually have one note. And this is pure speculation. So, you can very easily tell me I'm wrong. Anybody in the comments can very easily tell me I'm wrong and fuck off, and that's totally fine, because this is pure speculation on this specific point. Right near the end, you said that he thinks you're a girl because of your character, that you talk with him, and you haven't really told him that, actually who you are is a guy, because for some reason you think that he might actually harm himself. So, on that, I kind of want to tell you guys about, specifically, the person who wrote this, but a lot of you, about the single most disgusting manipulative tactic there is. And yeah, I am implying that what he is doing is a manipulation tactic. So, back when I used to know a lot of really shitty people, because I myself was in a really shitty place, and misery loves company, I knew a few people who would get like that. Who would talk about how, their life is just so impossible and everything's horrible, and they just, want to end themselves unless they could possibly get laid. Yeah, that's a manipulation tactic. That's a lie. Again, going back to what I said about, my own experience with depression, being like, I wouldn't tell someone, that I'm thinking about doing that kind of thing, because that would mean they would try to stop you, and that would kind of fuck up everything that you're trying to do, because if you're serious, you wouldn't want anybody to stop you. But this, especially the fact that he thinks you're a girl, and is constantly telling you about how all these girls are super mean to him, and how, nobody likes him, and this is the sad boy manipulation tactic. I'm super sad, nobody likes me, I just can't find anybody who fits on my level, but you do, but we're not like that. But these girls are always mean to me, and they're always trying to hurt me, but you wouldn't do that because you're not like that. And these people who I think are attractive, I like them and I try to be friends with them, but they're really mean to me, but you wouldn't do that because you're not like that. Do you see where this is going? Do you see how that works? If any of that sounds familiar to you, yeah, there's going to be a lot of, like, X person is really bad. X person who you can't even prove exists. But not like you. You're not like that. But, you don't think of me like that, so that's no, okay. Yeah, that's manipulation, dude. I guess I've been around it enough that I kind of recognize it. I had an ex who would do that kind of shit too. For real, I had an ex who told me that if we ever split up, she would off herself. And she cheated on me once a year for the 4 years we were together. So that was pretty much done so that I wouldn't leave. Not because she cared about me, because if she cared about me, she would have taken my feelings into consideration and not done that. But she didn't. There's a thing to all this. There's a meaning behind all these kinds of manipulation tactics, and once you start to see through how this stuff works, it all makes sense. So, I hope that this weird little rambling nonsense thing I've done here has actually helped. I don't know, and again, I'm not a professional. Well, I'm not a professional therapist or psychologist or psychiatrist or whatever. I am a professional unicorn. Nobody can take that away from me, and you can't prove I'm not. Nobody can. But, with all that being said, I would just like to say that it is a little freaky out there. Sometimes things are hard, and sometimes stuff's not so good. But you guys take care of yourselves, alright? I love you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!